my one friend that I know, his sister lives in Japan. Culturally, right, in kindergarten, your kid would get on a train and then go to school.
Yes.
And then get off, go to school, get back on that train, and you can't go to the school and drop your kid off, not holding his hand. They get on the train and they go.
Yeah, they're treated like adults over there.
You know, and there's cameras. Like, I'm not saying because obviously they give up a lot of freedoms to have what they... But he told me that you can't have a gun and a bullet in the same spot. Like, your bullet has to be on the second floor. Your gun has to be on the first floor.
Yeah.
Because you have to show intent that you literally went up to go get the bullet to have what happens.
Yeah.
It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. So when something happens and a gun is fired, they know that Tony had the intent to do what he did because the gun wasn't supposed to be with the bullet at all.
Yeah.
You know, and when you hear stuff like that, it's crazy. Like, my kid's in second grade, and we're working on, like, doing chores and stuff like that. In Japan, they're literally getting on the train in kindergarten and then getting off on the right exit and learning.
But do you know why, though?
Just culturally, that's what
culturally, they're more sound. They are more... and not to say that their culture is way different from the United States, but they believe in more family. They believe in more historical cultural references as well. Just that they don't want to mess up what they've done in the past. Mm-hmm. And for them to continue on through their course of history, like, you know, the Chinese, the Japanese have always had their wars, their cultural difference, you know, just like the United States. But you can't say that now the United States isn't in a thug mentality, because it is. It really is. It's crazy, man. Like, not only do you, me, Will, like, we need to have that mentality where we need to have a gun. We don't need to have a gun. But that's the mentality of most Americans. Because mainstream media tends to tell them differently. Now, if you thought about it, what would mainstream media be, or where would we be as a culture without mainstream media? Like, telling us what to do. Because, of course, they have influence, right?
But here's my thing, though, is I think that we don't have the leaders like we should have in this world and in these fights. Like, we don't have anyone that's a Martin Luther King. We don't have anyone, and I know he's a gangster rapper. We don't have anyone like Tupac who had these movements and this passion to be able to help people out. You know, like, I think as a culture, it's us against, like, me against Will, you against Will, us against each other. It's a rat race just because that's the way that. I don't know if it's the mainstream media that created it, but I think big business did.
Yeah.
I think your Walmarts and your, you know, like, were we joking last week about billing our resumes to be door greeters at Walmart?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
eventually.
That's what we're looking to do, you know what I mean? And really, like, when it comes down to it and I think it's, you know, what you said before, Tony, is that we as a culture and as a society have to wake up and say enough is enough. And, you know, it's not going to be any more, like, it breaks my heart today knowing that someone goes to bed tonight without their kid in their world. And to some of us, right, and especially I can speak for myself, at one of the darkest times of my life, my kid was probably one of the only reasons I still stand here today. You know, because you have to show them, you know, that no matter what goes, you keep moving and you keep going forward. But what do you do in these types of situations when, I mean, you go home tonight and your whole world has changed. Like, a whole bedroom now will never have the spirit and the energy that it had in it. Like, when do we as a society say enough is enough and put lives over money?
Yeah.
You know, I guess really that's really what it comes down to in this whole debate is life against money.
Well, you got to think that it's not a gun problem. There isn't a gun problem, to be honest.
It's a people problem.
There is definitely a people problem. And you would think that, dude, no matter what I had in front of me, if I had a BB gun or or an AK-47, like, regardless of what's in front of me, if I decide to shoot, guess what happens? That's on me.
Yeah, but I also don't think, like, when you're talking, this one guy had 100 rounds. 100-round clip. Like, you have 2-3 of those, like, you're talking 300 rounds. That's unloaded in a matter of 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we have a gun problem, but I don't think that military-style weapons should be allowed in the hands of normal civilians. You know, and I think that's just something that we as a culture have to either agree on or disagree, or agree to disagree. And like, those are the types of things that have to be discussed, you know?
Oh, sure.
Like, what was it that they had, the stocks that they had, the situation with the
bump stocks and yeah.
It's crazy to have stuff like that. Like, they're looking to start printing up 3D guns.
Of course.
They already can.
With the,
dude, you can make a 3D printed cartridge. You can make a cartridge, a 100-round cartridge that you can 3D print.
There's already blueprints out there for people to do it, and they were trying to stop the blueprints from getting out because some guy was like, "Oh no, I'll put them online." Like some guy that already knew how to do it, and he put it online for people to download.
Dude, you can pass through any metal detector, any metal detector whatsoever,
and it's just like a tiny little gun.
Yeah, shoots plastic bullets and everything.
That's all it takes.
You make your own plastic bullets. You make your own plastic gun.
That's right. And then when do they start modifying those? When do they start becoming more and more weaponized? You know, like, literally what it comes down to is the fact that we as a culture are so adamant about the fact that I'm right and you're wrong. And that, you know, you're pro-choice, I'm pro-life. And because I'm pro-life, I don't agree with anything that you say. Because we disagree on one topic. Yeah. You know, or like...
You could be great friends, but in politics, man, there are no friends whatsoever.
And that blows my mind because, like, you should always be able to talk as adults about things and agree to disagree. You know?
See, it's today's society, too, man. Today's society, like, everybody takes everything so lightly. You need to watch what you say. You got to watch who you're saying it to. You got to and every day, man. Every day, it's the same exact thing.
But I question... As a person, after living as long as I have on this earth and this planet and this country, when did it become worse than Columbine? Like, remember Columbine? Remember when that happened?
Yeah.
Like, I remember that, and I remember it wasn't a shooting every day. It wasn't a school shooting or a mass shooting. I mean, they were going on in the country.
Media, everything is so readily available at our fingertips. Everything.
The internet, too, you would say, is to blame as well?
Social media.
Of course. Social media plays a huge part in it.
Social media is like the driving force behind people being like, oh, I was bullied in school, so now I'm going to go to a Walmart and try to kill as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Like, people are leaving, like, manifestos of, like, what they're going to do on social media for the world to see so that they'll live forever. Yeah. They'll live forever.
Infamy.
Yeah. But see, though, I think sometimes, right, like, it's a little bit of this with a little bit of that mixed together. Like, say, for example, like, when you talk about the popularity of a school shooting or a mass shooting, I mean, obviously it all happened before this, but Columbine is the benchmark for me. Like, if someone's
for our time,
you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But then again, like, in the same aspect, because it's interesting you bring up the idea of the manifesto, that was the Unabomber. Was really the blow up of the manifesto of having it published and all this. So, like, little pieces here and there, I think, kind of goes with what you said, that, like, it's not just one thing that you can limit yourself to or shoot for. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just happening in one part of the country where we can say it's the South and there's, you know, aggression because of the culture, or it's the North because of, you know, self-righteous, whatever it could be, whatever the situation.
I find it funny because let's take for instance with the Unabomber. When I worked at a local prison. I'm not going to say the name of the place or anything. There was an inmate that was in there for making bombs. Now, nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody had ever heard of him. But he was in there because he was making pipe bombs and putting them into mailboxes. And I was like, dude, I said, what's up with you? He was, I think he was 20 or 21.
Not even...
Like, fresh.
Baby.
He was fresh. And I said, dude, why the heck were you making pipe bombs? He goes, oh, it was fun. I found it on the internet. And I went to my local, I think he went to Home Depot. And he bought all the stuff for it. And he put it together. He's like, oh, I just wanted to try it to see if I could do it. Boom, he blew up these mailboxes. Federal crime, dude. Federal crime already. Like, you're doing federal crime, federal time for making pipe bombs because you wanted to see how it was going to happen. Just dumb. But, like, people are so dumb, man.
It also goes to show you, right, that, like, so right now we're in a trade war with China.
Yep.
Right?
Well, amongst other countries, yeah.
But that's where all the fentanyl is coming from, is China.
So
and you would imagine right? That, like, if you're going to pick a fight with China, like, I'm all for whatever's going to happen, because obviously we're America and we should all stick together. But at the end of the day, like, if this trade war was about the fact that China was sending fentanyl in the mail, then I'm more on board than this whole situation of tariffs because of this and trade war and currency manipulation. Like, if we're going to go to war, let's go to war for our people. You know what I mean? Instead of for, like, it kind of goes with what I said, money over bodies.
Well, and
money
even the
lives.
funny thing is, did you know that there's a trade war between, I think it's Japan and India right now?
See, no.
Because nobody cares. The United States, number one money producer. Brrr, always spending the cash, you know? You got India, China, Japan. You got Iran being crazy right now with Great Britain. Man, I'm trying to think all the different countries over in the Strait of Gibraltar, but like they just seized their third ship. 3 ships, man, because they found out that they were smuggling oil into third world countries because of the embargo. That's crazy, isn't it?
You know what else really surprises me about the whole situation, the picture as a whole, is how President Trump comes out and he tries to sound presidential by, you know, talking about the situation. But, like, people want it to go further for his apology. Like, even when he said, like, to me, like, I think it's like, okay, well, at least we're getting somewhere with this. We're starting to unify through tragedy sometimes, which is terrible, but that's usually how we do things like this in this country.
That's true.
But, like, he apologizes, and even though I think he could have said more, and I think some of his rhetoric does add, you know, fuel to the fire, at least it's a start. You know, people can't just appreciate that. At least it's a start in the right direction of, like, hey, you know, we're admitting that there's a problem, and maybe, you know, if there is something great that comes out of this, you know, make America great again, it's the fact that our people are safe with each other. You know what I mean? I mean, that would be fantastic if we could just...
It's nice to know that we can find comfort in each other in time of tragedy, but tragedy shouldn't strike like that where we need to get together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, because when 9/11 happened, we were all unified.
Yeah. Against a common enemy.
For like the smallest amount of time, we were all like, everyone had flags on their cars. Remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were all singing Kumbaya, and it was like, oh, we're going to war with, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan and all of this stuff. And then after that, we went right back to being like dirtbags to one another.
Yeah.
You know, it was such a short period of time.
Really tiny
short period of time.
Yeah.
You know what else kind of surprises me about the American people is that, like, we're so self-righteous about ourselves, because we are. You know, I'm not trying to say that America isn't bad, right? But we look at what potentially happened in this 2016 election with Russia and everything. You don't think that we did that to other countries?
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just the fact that you get
If I could ask you one question to cut you off real quick. What's the best country in the world? Where's the best country in the world?
You have to say America. It's where we're born and raised. It's what you're brainwashed to do and say.
You're brainwashed in it.
I said I don't know, because I don't believe that America is the best country
in the world. It's not. I mean, physically, you know, production-wise, we are not the best country in the world at all. Education, we're like everything. 20th or 30th in the world.
There's other countries that just basically have it figured out as far as the education, currency, all of these things they give to the people.
But everybody wants a slice of the American pie.
Yeah, but see, everyone sees it as a money. Like, everyone sees, like, oh, well, if I can start teaching Common Core math instead of this, people are going to buy my books, you know?
Sure.
If they do this, like, it's always a change. Like, listen, math is with math.
Yeah.
Einstein used the same math that we use. Now, my kid uses different math than I use, and now what you're really trying, in my own opinion now, obviously, but what I really think you're trying to do is you're trying to say, like, why? Don't listen to Tony. Don't listen to Will or Tom. They don't know what they're talking about. That's not how you do math. This is how you do math. It's all about... My kid walks down the hallway, hands behind his back, face in the head, back head of someone. Like, I understand, and I'm glad that he can follow those rules, but in the same aspect, you're just trying to militarize him.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're trying to have a military mentality without letting him have his own freedom. You know, take individuality away, and everyone's just going to be a machine.
Because school is a smaller version of prison. It's a smaller version of prison, like, because
I mean, you want everybody to dress the same. You want everybody to get the same marks. Sometimes you need to push the people who are a little bit slower. Sometimes you need to slow down the people that are faster.
Yeah.
And in a lot of schools, they tend to do that.